All right, guys, welcome back to the channel where I sit with you every week and we stack Bitcoin together. Guys, today I'm doing a reaction video on Professor Jiang. He is making the rounds with this interview that he did where he briefly talked about Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto. I've seen some of the clips that have gone viral and wanted to give you guys my reaction and my rebuttal really to some of the things that he's saying. So let's get right into it.
Who do you think is Satoshi Nakamoto?
Well, I mean, they say that it translates into central intelligence. And the story makes no sense, right? Because why would you spend years, possibly decades, in your basement creating a new technology, the blockchain technology, and then just give it for free to the world? And, right, that makes no sense.
It does sound a little ridiculous.
It sounds kind of.
Okay, so let's be clear. It's not the first time that something like that happens, right? Programmers and hobbyists online have been doing that for decades, right? Linux is a perfect example of that where a person created a software, put it out there as an open source software, and programmers have worked on it, developed on it, built on it, and today, I mean, thousands of applications that use Linux software. So that was a software that was given absolutely for free. It was freely distributed online. People worked on it. People built on it the same way that Bitcoin is open source software. And there are programmers that every day work on the software. Keep it safe. Make sure there's upgrades, updates, whatever the case may be. That is very typical. It may not be typical in Professor Jiang's world or this interviewer's world or even in your world, but it is something that happens. It's not that atypical. All right.
Ridiculous, right? So
Not
then you have to
really.
ask
It's
yourself
not
three
ridiculous.
questions. First of all, is who would have the technology and the expertise to create something like the blockchain? Second of all, you have to ask who would benefit from this blockchain creation? And the third question you want to ask is why would they keep it secret? Okay, and when you do game theory analysis, you look at all possibilities. You end up with a deep state, the American deep state. You end up with the CIA.
That's a
Okay?
leap.
So the first question.
That's a huge leap. I just got to say, he asked three questions and he says you end up at the CIA, the deep state, just by simply posing three simple questions. The answer is the CIA, so don't touch it. That seems really lazy to me. But all right, let's listen to these three supposed answers to these three key questions.
Who would have the expertise and the technology to create the blockchain? Probably the same people who created the internet. Probably the same people who created GPS.
So this is something that that should be more well known in about Bitcoin and blockchain in general. He says that who would have the knowledge to be able to build something like this. To be clear, blockchain has been the foundations of blockchain have been developing for decades, right? So since the 90s, there's been programmers, people online that have been working on cryptography, right? Cryptography's been around for decades already. Then you had programmers like Adam Back building Hashcash, right? Which is really the creator of proof of work, right? So the proof of work that's used in the Bitcoin protocol is really taken from Hashcash's programming, right? It's software, it's code. I mean, so that was already developed and just made better, right? After that, you had electronic money like DigiCash. I think eCash was another one, or eGold, I can't remember. But there were several attempts at creating online digital cash for decades, right? There is a corner of the internet, a group of people, cypherpunks, people that were really into the idea of creating a money that could transact peer-to-peer without having a third party intervene. Basically an internet money like Bitcoin. So people have been attempting this for decades, okay? Satoshi Nakamoto, what this person or group or whoever it is did was simply take the those foundational blocks of Hashcash, proof of work, things that were written by David Chaum and DigiCash, etc., and take these foundational blocks and just figure out how to configure them to build blockchain. All the other attempts before had failed. They were missing something. They were missing certain components to be able to make Bitcoin and blockchain work correctly. And Satoshi Nakamoto simply saw all of the attempts before, took things from all of those attempts, took ideas from all of those attempts, took code from all those attempts, and then figured out how to configure all of these different components to be able to make Bitcoin and blockchain. All right, the person Satoshi Nakamoto didn't just come up with this from scratch. It didn't just come out of the sky and he's just like, oh, I'm this brilliant, amazing human being and I know how to build this from zero. No, that's not what's happened whatsoever. And to be honest with you, when I first started in getting into Bitcoin, I thought the same thing that Professor Jiang is saying here. It's like basically whoever this person is, they must be incredible and have this exceptional knowledge to be able to build something like this, right? And not just knowledge in cryptography and coding, but also knowledge on principles of economics, right? All of these things, for someone to have this expertise so much so to the point where they can build something like this, they must be an incredible human being. But realistically, as I started to dig and learn more, no, that's not exactly what happened, right? There were several attempts and several foundational building blocks that Satoshi Nakamoto built off of to be able to create Bitcoin. Didn't come out of nowhere. So again, you don't need this central intelligence agency. You don't need these dark agencies to be able to have this exceptional intellect to be able to build this. It already had advancements and a start, right? There were already things happening that could potentially build into what it is today, which is Bitcoin and blockchain.
DARPA, NSA, CIA, probably these guys, right? If they cut the internet, blockchain, it's just more of an enclosed model of the internet, right? Where the internet is open, but the blockchain is actually closed up to certain members. Whoa. But everything is transparent within the blockchain.
Whoa. That is absolutely wrong. The blockchain is not closed up to anyone. It is completely open and visible to anybody that wants to see it. You can go on today, if you're watching this now, you can literally jump into a blockchain explorer, just type in blockchain explorer on Google, go Bitcoin blockchain explorer, and you can find several websites that will show you exactly the Bitcoin blockchain, show you it in real time, show you blocks that are being mined. It'll show you transactions that are happening. Everything's happening in real time. There is no, it's not hidden in any way. So completely wrong there.
Right. So that's the first question. Second question is, who would benefit from blockchain? Well, the CIA, because of two things. One is surveillance, where they're...
Hold on. Who would benefit from blockchain? I mean, anybody that wants to transact money peer-to-peer without a third party being involved. Again, anytime you remove a third party, you make a process more efficient. That's true across anything, right? If I don't need a third party to buy a home, it makes the process more efficient. If I require a third party to buy whatever it is and they have to transact via a third party for trust purposes, it makes the process less efficient. But if I can remove that third party and not have to deal with an escrow or a trusted third party at that point, it makes the process more efficient because instead of going through 3 people, it's going 1 and 2. Done, right? So that obviously has a value to it. Okay. So transacting money anywhere in the world globally, you can ask people that send remittances how much easier it is to send a remittance via a digital token or a digital coin like Bitcoin than it is to try to send a MoneyGram. Okay, it's a much simpler process. So there is value in that. So the only people that have value in blockchain technology is not just the CIA. There are millions of people all over the world that see value in having something like a peer-to-peer a transaction system.
Able to monitor everything, right? It's almost like a Trojan horse if you were to use blockchain. Second is like the CIA. It does a
So to be clear, he makes the point about monitoring that they can have visibility on all your transactions, anything that happens. Um, that's, I guess, the point he's making. But at the same time, he just said in the last breath that it was a closed system and that not everybody had visibility. So it's like, do they or don't they have visibility? And yes, the fact is that everybody has visibility. It is pseudo-anonymous. It is not completely anonymous. There are ways to not hide your transactions, but hide your identity to transact in Bitcoin if you wanted to, but it's a bit of a process.
lot of black ops. It is a government within a government, right? It is basically outside of all political control, but it needs a mechanism to finance its operations. It basically needs a money laundering operation, and blockchain is a great mechanism to.
I'm not sure why the CIA needs a mechanism to do its money laundering operations. It's been doing money laundering operations for decades without any issues in cash. Um, there's been really no problem there. So I'm not sure why they would need to create this whole new technology and hope nobody catches on to it to be able to do money laundering. They've been doing it already for decades. Um, so not sure what his point is there. Also, I'm not sure how exactly he thinks that money laundering would work on the blockchain or Bitcoin blockchain when he just mentioned that everything's fully transparent. Not sure his thinking there. He doesn't really go in depth, in real detail in any of these answers. They're just really surface level. Again, I understand that this is not a Bitcoin podcast, and this wasn't a Bitcoin interview. It's literally like a 5-10 minute segment. But again, he doesn't go in depth in any of this. I just hate how he talks about this so confidently and like this is how it is, when realistically he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. It's just a fact. So yeah, again, a lot of contradictory points all over this.
Finance a lot of its operations, especially drug trafficking. Okay. Third question is, why would they keep it secret? And the answer is only if people believe.
I don't understand this third question. Why would they keep it secret? Keep what secret? Keep what secret about Bitcoin? It's an open source protocol. You can go and read the white paper. You can read through the actual code of Bitcoin. The blockchain is fully transparent, so much so that he mentions that it can be used for surveillance. So I'm not sure what he means by keep it secret. Keep what secret? Not clear at all about what this third point is trying to get at.
That this was transparent, open, and beyond authority, beyond political control. Does it have value? Right? So the moment people recognize that this is a CIA operation, people won't put their money into blockchain. People won't put their money into Bitcoin. They'll be like, I mean, why would I do that? You have to ask yourself this question.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you keep it into the current systems? Why would you keep it in the bank where there's fractional reserve lending and your money really isn't sitting in the bank and they're lending it out at an interest rate of 6, 7, 8, 9%, while they pay you 0.1% while it sits in your savings? Why would you run the risk of letting it sit in dollars when they get inflated away whenever the Federal Reserve or any central bank decides to print away your money, right? And decides to inject more liquidity into the system, right? All of these things you don't benefit from, right? You actually get hurt by. So if you have your money sitting in cash and just sitting away in a bank account, that bank is making money on your money, and they're making great money on your money while they're not paying you anything for giving them your money, right? At the same time, if you go to a bank tomorrow and say, hey, I want to withdraw all my cash, and say you've got $20,000 there, they're going to ask you to fill out a form and say, why is it exactly that you're filling that out? And basically, you have to get an approval. It's like, why should I have to get an approval? This is my money. right? So why would anyone want to keep their money in the traditional system, in the traditional banking, when at the end of the day, uh, your money can be surveilled currently, it can be controlled currently, it can be deflated currently. I'm sorry, inflated currently. Debased is what I meant. Why would you keep it in the other system? That's the question you should be asking, right? That's the question Professor Jiang should be asking. Um, and when people figure out it's from the CIA, they're gonna this currency or this money completely undermines the CIA. It removes the ability for any central authority to have uh, to rig the system or rig the game in the way that they want to. Currently, they can rig the system in the game whenever they see that they need to inject liquidity into the system. They do so, right? They play with the interest rates. Oh, inflation's going up too quickly because we pump too much money into the system. We need to increase the interest rates, make the cost of capital more expensive. Okay, but ultimately, who does that affect? Because the banks are going to actually loan at a higher interest rate on your money. So the money that you gave them into the bank, now they're able to turn around and say, well, even though the cost of capital is going up and it's going to cost you more money to pull the loan so you can buy a home, I'm actually going to make 3, 4, 5, 6 more points or on your money because the interest rates are going up. Right? Why are the interest rates going up? Because inflation is going up. Why is inflation going up? Because they injected more liquidity into the system. They debased your currency, right? They devalued the currency. And so why did they do that? Oh, because they needed to stimulate the economy. Because in the case of 2008, banks started to crash because they were giving predatory loans out. It was just an absolute disaster, and they needed to save the banking system. What the next crash will be, I don't know. But the point is, the system we're in currently is completely rigged. It's played. It has changing rules at any time. Whenever they want, they increase the interest rates and they manipulate the money. If they didn't have manipulation over the money, you wouldn't just be able to change interest rates whenever you feel like it's necessary, right? It should be a free market. Nobody pulling the strings on anything. And so as soon as someone dips their finger in and says, well, we're going to raise and lower the interest rates to fix the demand of the currency, then it's no longer a free market economy, right? But what is a free market? Bitcoin's a free market, right? It has a set of rules. It has a protocol that's based on consensus. So there is no changing those rules unless everyone says we want to change them. Again, it's a decentralized system, right? Whereas in a central system that we're in currently, you have a central group making decisions for the majority, right? So that's the system that people want to opt out of. That's why people wouldn't want to stay involved in this system currently, and opt into something like Bitcoin.
Where are the blockchain servers located?
So this is the most viral part of the video. Let's back this up right here. Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant.
Beyond authority, beyond political control, does it have value? Right? So the moment people recognize that this is a CIA operation, people won't put their money into blockchain.
Dude, who is this?
People won't put their money into Bitcoin. They'll be like, I mean, why would I do that? You have to ask yourself this question. Where are the blockchain servers located? Right? Because I imagine if you're able to control the hardware, you can also control the software. I don't care what they tell me about open source and all that. I want to know where the databases are, where the servers are, physically.
So this is the part that went most viral, at least in Bitcoin circles. Where are the servers? Someone should pull that and make a meme out of that. Where are the servers? The servers are anywhere in anyone's home that wants to have a server in their house. For example, I have a server. I have a Bitcoin node. I run the Bitcoin blockchain in my house, right? I participate in the network. Anyone that has a computer, that has a Raspberry Pi, a CPU, whatever, they can run the Bitcoin software and have their own server. You can actually see... there's a website that's like a node explorer, and you can see all the nodes spread across all over the world. All the nodes are all the computers, or the quote unquote servers, like Professor Jiang is stating, right? Those are the databases, and that's what makes Bitcoin so special. There is no centralized warehouse full of servers that's running the Bitcoin software. It's people like you and I, right? I run the Bitcoin software. A neighbor runs the Bitcoin software. Someone else, 3 miles away that's also into Bitcoin runs a software. A guy in China runs a software. A bunch of people in India run the software. Like, it's whoever wants to participate in the network runs the software, and those are the servers that hold the quote unquote databases for Bitcoin, because they hold the ledger, and then they verify the ledger of the Bitcoin software. So again, that was the most viral comment, because it was the moment everyone realized, oh, Professor Jiang has no clue what he's talking about when it comes to Bitcoin, because that's a very basic a basic concept when it comes to Bitcoin. Right, so someone that has no clue about Bitcoin would make this type of comment. So everything else that he says, I mean, and again, this is the dangerous part of people like this, people like Ben McKenzie. They make comments with such confidence that you when you hear it and you don't know anything about the subject, you think, oh, well, that's a good point. That makes sense. But now that I know what he's just said about Bitcoin and the way he's said it with such confidence, I have to take everything else that he says with a grain of salt, right? Any other subject this guy speaks on, I need to like double check, because I already know the way that he's speaking so confidently about Bitcoin while not knowing anything about Bitcoin is pretty telling about the kind of person this is. And I don't know who Professor Jiang is. He's just kind of blown up in the last, 6 months, a year, whatever. And I'm not as sure exactly why. It's a bit weird how all of a sudden he's everywhere.
It's interesting too that it's designed like a religion.
Yeah.
There's nothing about Bitcoin that's designed as a religion. It's a protocol. It's a software protocol. You can read through it, and there's nothing there that says you need to worship Bitcoin, or you need to pray to Bitcoin every other night, and you need to disown your family. So I'm not sure what that comment means either. It's kind of an annoying comment, to be honest with you. Not sure what that means.
I'll tell something else, okay? Mark Zuckerberg.
That's what I was going to ask about. Yeah.
So Mark Zuckerberg had this conflict with the Winklevoss. The
Winklevoss twins. Yeah.
The Winklevoss twins, okay? And so the Winklevoss twins sued Mark Zuckerberg, claiming that Zuckerberg stole the idea for Facebook from them. Okay, and this went to court, and there was a settlement. I forget the amount, okay? But then the Winklevoss twins took a sizable portion of the settlement and put it all in Bitcoin. Like, we're talking about millions of dollars into Bitcoin when it was like just a novelty. Why would people do that?
They're the Lord.
Why would people do that? I don't know. This comment is like, I don't know what he's trying to insinuate. I don't know if he's insinuating that the Winklevoss twins are part of the CIA, or why would anyone? What's the thought behind doing something like that? Or I don't get it. But the point is that many people did that. The Winklevoss twins, I think they settled for like over $60 million in their Facebook situation. They invested like 11 or $10 million, which is like 10 to 15% of their portfolio. I mean, they weren't going to go hungry if they lost all that money. They still had another $50 million to go. There are other people, much smaller people that didn't have millions of dollars, that invested 50% of their portfolio in Bitcoin when it was in 2013, 2014, because they read about it, they learned about it, and they realized this could be really huge. If this does what I think it's going to do, this could be really huge, right? People had the foresight to be able to say that. CZ, for example, CZ from Binance, he sold his house, like $900,000, and he put it all in Bitcoin. And then he got into the industry, and he started learning about the industry. And so it's not this crazy concept. This doesn't mean anybody that did that um, is I don't know if his insinuation is that they're part of the CIA or some weird shit like that. Like that's not how that works. People read about it, learned about it, thought, wow, this is super interesting. There's another guy named like Da Vinci something that in 2012 he's got a video on YouTube saying buy Bitcoin, man, buy Bitcoin. He put his money into Bitcoin, and now the guy's a multi-millionaire, potentially a billionaire. Um, did he do that because he's part of the CIA? No, I mean, he did that because he had conviction in it. He believed in what it was and what it was doing, and maybe he also believed in the ethos of it, right? Stepping away from the traditional financial system that continuously is debasing people's currency and people's savings and effort and energy. And so, you know what? I'm going to vote for this instead, and hopefully it fixes some situations. Yeah, so all in all, I think that's the entire video. It's or clip that he talks about Bitcoin. But either way, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts, whatever you think about this video. Professor Jiang, I have done some research into this guy. So apparently, he's not even a professor. He's a teacher. He claims to be a professor. He got called out about being a professor or saying that he's a professor, and then he said, I'm not really a professor. I've never said that I'm a professor, but yet there's tons of videos of him saying, hi guys, I'm Professor Jiang. So I don't know. This guy seems a bit weird. Came out of nowhere, just all of a sudden blew up, in my opinion, and I'm not exactly sure why. Again, another person like a Ben McKenzie, in the sense that they're talking about a subject that they really don't know about. In the case of Professor Jiang, I have a little bit more sympathy because he doesn't just do videos or about Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto. He focuses on other things, global economics. Ben McKenzie, on the other hand, that guy all he does is talk about crypto, yet he knows nothing about it, which is, I think, more embarrassing. So that's it for today, guys. If you like the video, if you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and like, subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. The whole thing, it helps the algorithm, helps me get out there. All right, guys, have a great one.